Welcome to part one of our Dealing with Stress series. And today we're going to be talking about how stress can affect us and where stress really comes from for the average teenager. So we're going to start by talking about the difference between stress and anxiety. So almost everyone has experienced stress at some point in their lives. There's a lot of things that can cause us to feel stress, and everyone feels stress differently, and everyone feels stress from different things. So stress is your body's reaction to a challenge or a threat. So something comes up and you start to feel stress from it. Anxiety is a little bit different. Anxiety is feeling overwhelmed by something that you think you can't handle. And so maybe you are stressed about your grade in math and then you don't do well on an exam. And maybe that happens again. So then the next time, you're probably going to feel anxiety about it because you feel like you will not be able to succeed. Anxiety can also be caused from not dealing with our stress for a long period of time. So we've either kind of shoved it down, or we don't talk about it, or we deal with it in unhealthy ways. So it builds and builds inside of us, and then it can turn into anxiety. So how does stress feel? We feel stress both emotionally and physically. Emotionally, some people get nervous or fearful, and then some people get angry or frustrated. They lash out at the situation. And then a lot of people tend to feel really overwhelmed when stress comes up or stress starts to pile up. And then physically, we feel stress in our bodies. Our muscles can get all tense. This is something that happens to me when I feel stressed. My body gets very tense. Some people have trouble sleeping. They'll just be tossing and turning all night while all these stressful thoughts are spinning in their head. Some people will overheat and start to sweat. Some people have trouble breathing. Others will get really bad headaches. So we feel stress emotionally, but it's very much physically in our bodies too. So when we don't deal with stress for a long period of time, like I said, it builds up and it can cause us to develop depression, anxiety. It can cause a weakened immune system, which means that you get sick all the time. It can also cause high blood pressure and exhaustion. So it's so important that we figure out what is stressing us out and how we can deal with it. So, stress has a lot of negative side effects, but not all stress is bad. Some stress can really motivate us or push us to achieve our goals. Maybe you are stressed about your grade in math, so then you decide to study and you do well. So, it's pushing you to achieve something. Stress can also teach us responsibility or help us to avoid danger. So there is some healthy stress, but then a lot of stress on us can be very unhealthy. Like I said, we all feel stress from different things in our lives. And so I would love for you all to answer, what is stressing you out right now? What is causing you stress in your life? And this could be some really big things that are going on, and it can also be just really small things that have started to pile up, and that stress has started to pile up in you too. So try to come up with, 3 to 5 things. What's causing you to feel stress right now, big or small? Most teens say that they feel stress from school, friendships, family, dating, and social media. So think about that list that you just made, and do any of those things fit into these 5 categories? And then I want you to think about, do multiple things that you listed fit into just one category? Is most of your stress coming from school or family? Is most of your stress coming from your friendships? So think about what area of your life you're feeling the most stress in now. And so we're going to go through each category and kind of list off the common things that a lot of teens, a lot of people will feel in each. So for school, so many people feel stressed from upcoming tests, homework, grades. That's a very normal thing to feel stressed about. And a lot of the times, those can be healthy stressors if we're dealing with them right. People can also feel stressed by a new school, Moving from eighth to ninth grade, that's a huge life change. So that's a really big stressor. People also say that they feel a lot of stress from either bullying, so having problems with other kids, or issues with their teachers. So it can come from people in school as well. And then so many people over this past year have been saying how much stress they feel from virtual learning. You've gone from a place of having something where you kind of just have to show up and do your work to having to schedule your time to manage all these new platforms. There's so much new information, and it can be so overwhelming to try to deal with virtual learning and succeed in it. So think about, have you felt any of these stressors lately? Are any of these coming up for you? The next category that teens say they feel a lot of stress in is friendships. You can experience peer pressure a lot of the time. It could be your friends trying to get you to try drugs or alcohol. It could be friends trying to get you to skip school, really doing anything that you're not really comfortable in, that you're feeling pressure to do or to try. Another huge stressor right now is toxic friendships, so unhealthy friendships. And those just have a lot of fighting, a lot of drama, rumors, and secrets going around. So a friend that maybe isn't really there for you as much as they're causing a lot of problems for you. So think about, do any of your friendships, does the bad outweigh the good? Does the fighting and drama outweigh them being there for you? And if that's the case, it might be a toxic friendship. So that might be a big stressor in your life. Another stressor could be new friends and dealing with trust. As we get older, our friend groups tend to get a little bit bigger, and we meet new people, we introduce new people into our lives. So we have to try to navigate that. How much can I trust you? How much can I share with you? So that can definitely be a stressor as well. So, family tends to be a really big stressor for teens. There's a lot that can go on at home that can cause us to feel so much stress, and that a lot of people, maybe at school, don't even know about. And it can be things like arguing with your parents or your siblings. And this can be even small stuff, like your sister ended up taking your clothes and you're stressed and angry about that. You could be fighting with your parents about your grades in school. And then your parents could be fighting with each other, or they could even be divorced. And maybe you have two households and you have to go back and forth between the two. That is a big stressor. And then there's also things like your expectations at home, doing your chores, maybe taking care of your siblings, doing the dishes. So those are all maybe smaller stressors that everyone has to manage and take care of. Another one that teens tend to experience is privacy. If we're living somewhere where we're not getting a lot of privacy, maybe our siblings are all over our space, maybe our parents don't want to give us that much privacy, that can really increase our stress because it feels like we don't have an outlet for privacy. And then, so at home, you could be dealing with some of this smaller stuff. And then there can also be some really major stressors at home. Maybe your family's dealing with money problems and trying to afford paying rent and bills and food. Maybe there's some kind of abuse going on in your home, whether it be verbal or physical, that you have to deal with. Maybe your parents are undocumented, and right now that is a huge stressor. With everything going on politically, you could go home and maybe your parents wouldn't be there. So those kind of stressors, they weigh so heavily on us. So if we don't find ways to deal with those, then it really can cause us a lot of emotional and physical damage in the long term. Another big stressor for teens is dating. Most of the time in your teen years, you're starting to go through your first kind of real relationships and figure out how to kind of navigate those, how to work with trust. Maybe you're dealing with rumors and jealousy or cheating and arguments. And maybe then that leads to breakups. So all those things are all mixed together with our family and our friends and in school. So all these pressures can really lead to more and more stress. And then with dating too, maybe you're in a healthy dating relationship and you're trying to make time for each other. You're trying to balance your friendships with your family, with your schoolwork, for time for your partner. And maybe that's a big stressor, not enough time in the day. And then in your teen years, some people do start to experiment with sex. And so that is another stressor, figuring out, am I ready for this? How do I protect myself? Is this person the one I want to make this decision with? Do I trust this person to not spread rumors or not try to pressure me? So there's so much that is complicated and can be really stressful about dating. So that's definitely something to keep in the back of your mind as you're thinking about everything that is stressing you out right now. Is dating something that's adding to it? And then the last kind of big stressor that a lot of teens report is social media. And a big piece of this is cyberbullying. More bullying takes place online than in person nowadays. So you could be dealing with cyberbullying, you could be dealing with being left out of text messages, people saying nasty things on your social media accounts, making nasty comments about your photos. So that can be really hurtful and really stressful. Another big stressor online is when we compare ourselves to others. If we're following celebrities and we're comparing how we look or the clothes that we have, the homes, the cars, we can start to feel not good enough. It can really start to harm our self-esteem and really make us feel depressed. So if you are online and you notice as you're scrolling through, there's a certain account that makes you feel negative emotions every time you come across it, maybe it's a good idea to start unfollowing it. Maybe it's a good idea to cut that out of your life. Because like we've been going over, there's so many different stressors for teens that maybe they can't cut out. So social media is a good place to really be in charge of what you're seeing and what you're experiencing. And then another kind of smaller stressor that a lot of teens are talking about is getting follows and likes. We get a lot of validation from social media nowadays. So if we aren't getting that feedback, that positive feedback from others through follows or through likes or through positive comments on our accounts, it can again start to really hurt our self-esteem and make us feel really bad about ourselves and cause us to feel even more stress. So again, make deliberate decisions around your interactions on social media, because that can really determine if you're going to have positivity or if you're going to have more stress and negativity in your life. So kind of the final note that I want to make is that the first step in dealing with your stress is to figure out where it comes from. And then you want to ask yourself, is this something that I can remove from my life? Is a toxic friendship something I can remove? Is a negative or toxic or unhealthy dating relationship? Can I remove anything off social media? Think about the things that you have control of that is causing you stress, and can you get rid of it? And then if not, because obviously, like I said, we can't get rid of all the stress that we feel in our lives. Something is always going to come up that's causing us to feel stress. So if not, think about what can you do to deal with it in a healthy way. And that's really what we're going to talk about in this series. How can I deal with what's causing me stress? How can I deal with that in healthy ways? So thank you all so much for listening, and follow us to stay tuned for part 2 of our Dealing with Stress series.